In this video, I'll be looking at how you can create custom white balance images that let you easily identify which filter or white balance the particular image is for. This video only covers my experience with the Canon R5, but I would think it's probably the same with other Canon cameras. I'm not sure if Nikon, Sony, Panasonic, etc. even let you set the white balance based off an existing image. If they do, I wouldn't be surprised if they use a different technique to Canon, and so this method is unlikely to be applicable to those cameras. First, I should probably go over exactly what a white balance image is. It's simply a photo on your camera's memory card that you can use to set a custom white balance. There's nothing special about the actual image itself, it's just an image that you keep on the memory card explicitly for using to set a particular white balance. You might be wondering why you'd want to use a custom white balance preset image. The reason for me is that I use a full spectrum converted camera and I shoot with a range of different filters. The white balance for each filter can be quite different and way outside the normal shade to tungsten white balance range, so having a range of white balance preset images that lets me quickly select the correct white balance for the filter in use is quite helpful to me. Now, I'm not saying that white balance preset images are the best solution for my use case. If you look back at my previous video, you can see that although the white balance preset images I used were fairly close to the correct white balance, they weren't as good as a custom white balance created at the same time as the video was shot would have been. I still need to do more investigation to see if there is a better solution for white balance of colour infrared video. One alternative solution is to just carry a white balance target with you and set a custom white balance on that each time. I've tried doing a white balance on a piece of white card and also a piece of PTFE, but I found I didn't like the resulting images as much as when they're white balanced on the clouds. And the problem with that is that you may not always have enough cloud cover in the sky to allow for doing a custom white balance image. However, with custom white balance preset images, you can just take an image on a day when it is cloudy, or use a long lens to get enough cloud coverage over the frame so that they're filling the frame, and then you can use that image of the clouds to set your white balance preset whenever you want. The other reason why you might want to use a custom white balance image is if you're using certain white balances for creative effect. A custom white balance from an image seems to allow for more extreme white balance adjustments than you can get just using the built-in presets or Kelvin and tint adjustments. The problem with having multiple different custom white balance preset images to choose from is that it can be difficult to work out which image is for which particular white balance preset, or in my case, which filter the preset is for. So this is what I'll be showing how to work around in this video. What would be simplest would be if you could just rename the image file, e.g. the white balance preset for my CB565 filter, I'll just name cb565.cr3. It would then be easy to tell which white balance preset image you would want simply based off the file name. Sadly, this doesn't work, and if you rename the file outside of Canon's default style naming convention, it will simply not show up on the camera for you to select. There's a few possible solutions to this. One is when taking the custom white balance photo, you just hold up a piece of card or paper at the edge of the frame that has whatever you want to call the preset written on it in large text. This will need to be positioned outside the central region of the frame that's used for white balance, but still large enough in the frame that you can read it on the small thumbnail that you see when selecting a custom white balance image. Another option is to keep a separate list of which image is for which white balance, and you can then reference that list later whenever you need to choose a custom white balance image, but it's not really very convenient because you have to keep looking at the list each time until you've memorized it. Another option is to take a white balance preset image, open it in the Canon Digital Photo Professional software on your computer, and then use the clone tool in that to sample a darker or lighter area of the image, and then use that to write the name of the preset on a lighter or darker area of the image. You need to remember to write it large enough that you'll be able to read it from the small image thumbnail. Once that's done, you convert and save it as an EXIF JPEG, then you stick the image on your memory card as the white balance preset image. The clone tool in DPP is extremely slow and laggy on both Windows and macOS when I was testing, and using a graphics tablet with a pen rather than a mouse didn't help. So it makes trying to write the name of the preset sort of in a neat way very difficult. So my final solution that I've come up with is a lot more complex than the previously discussed solutions, but it does work. Unfortunately, like many large companies, Canon makes you jump through a lot of hoops to accomplish what should really be a basic task. If you could just rename the images, it would be so much easier than having to do all this. So to start with, you shoot your custom white balance preset images, making sure you've noted which image is for which white balance preset, which in my case is which one is for which filter. Either shoot the images as JPEG or use Canon Digital Photo Professional to convert the RAWs to JPEGs. Once you've done that, open one of the images in your image editing software of choice and either edit the image or replace it with your own custom image. In my case, I used images of my filters plus text with the filter name so I can easily identify which preset image is for which filter. Save these out as JPEG files, but don't overwrite the originals. At least with Photoshop, it won't maintain the full EXIF data when you save out an image, so you need to put the metadata from the unedited JPEG files back into the corresponding edited JPEG files. So using EXIF tool, you can do that like this, where unedited JPEG is the original custom white balance image and edited JPEG is the custom image that contains the content you want to be displayed in the thumbnail for your custom WB image. Or you can do it the other way around and insert the image content of your edited image into the original using ImageMagick. Unfortunately, just sticking the EXIF of the original image into the custom image doesn't seem to be quite enough to get the image to work in the camera. We also need to open the image in Digital Photo Professional and then convert and save it as an EXIF JPEG. Once that's done, ensure the file's named using Canon's standard naming scheme. I'd suggest just renaming it to the same file name of whatever the original white balance image was that you shot. Then transfer it across to your memory card. On your camera, you'll probably want to add the custom white balance option to your My menu to make it easy to access. On the Canon R5, it is otherwise found on page 3 of the camera icon. You then choose the custom white balance option, scroll through the images on your memory card and find the correct white balance image and select it. Then make sure your actual white balance setting is set to custom white balance as well. So in conclusion, what we can tell from this is that the camera does not actually use the content of the image as it is on the memory card to set the white balance. If it did, then replacing the image content with other images, as I've done, would give you a completely different white balance than it does from the original image. But rather, some value indicating the calculated correct white balance must be written to the metadata of each image as it is shot, and this metadata value is then used for setting the white balance when that image is chosen as a custom white balance image. EXIF tool does have some Canon Maker Notes fields relating to white balance that it knows about, but whether these are used for setting custom white balance and how you could edit them, I've got no idea. It could be quite interesting if the fields and data type weren't too complicated. You could try writing various values and see what sort of resulting white balances you get, and you might be able to get some quite extreme adjustments if this were possible. I do quite like my custom white balance preset images. They're only correct when using them in the same lighting as they were shot, so I think I shot most of them sort of around midday, and so if I was shooting sort of late in the day or early in the day, the white balance wouldn't be quite right, but it would be quite near, and I can then correct it further in post if needed. If I can find a more robust white balance solution than custom preset images, of course I'll post a follow-up video covering that.